Okay, cadets, now that we finished our block of instruction on body image, we're going to stay within the health and fitness. And this block of instruction I think is really important. We're going to start talking about understanding and controlling stress. And it's one of the common things I learn or hear from cadets is all the time saying, hey, sir, you don't understand, I'm so stressed. I got this going on in my family, or I got this, at school, all this work coming on. And that is stress. And stress, I think one of the most important lessons you get out of high school is not necessarily, biology or math, but it's this growing up and learning how to deal with all these different stressors and how to understand it and how you process it and how you deal with it. It's a lesson, you got to grow and learn how to do that. And so we're going to talk about that today. I think it's definitely something as you go through high school, you're going to have these stresses, but you have stress throughout your whole life. And how you deal with the stresses and learn to deal with the stresses of today will impact how you deal with the stresses of tomorrow, which will be different. As you go through different stages in life, you will have different stresses. So what stresses you today will not be what's stressing you in the future. Okay, our essential question for this block of instruction is how can you cope effectively with stress? Because the fact of the matter is you will always have stress in your life. Okay. All right, we're going to think about different types of stress that you've experienced. And everyone has, like we said, we all have stress in our life. So what is stressing you? And think about what stresses you. Everyone has different kind of stresses. Some are similar. Some are different. So what is stress? Is it your body's response to overexertion? Your body's response to sadness? Or your body's response to change? What do you think the right answer is? On that, stress is your body's response to change. So life is always having changes. And how you deal with change is how you deal with stress. So, life, if it was all just never changing and normal, we wouldn't have stress. But we got to have change. We've got to be, in order to grow, we've always got to be kind of pushed out of our comfort zone. That's where you experience true growth. And it's through learning and growth that we experience stress. Okay, our learning objectives, we're going to differentiate between positive and negative stress. Probably never thought about it, but there's actually positive stresses. We're going to identify sources of stress, and we'll talk the different stages of the body's stress response. There's 3 different stages, and we'll describe some of the physical and behavioral effects of prolonged stress. And a good thing is describe the ways to manage stress. At the same time, going over those key words of distress, your endorphins, the fatigue, fight or flight, freeze response, psychosomatic, relaxation, resistance, all that we'll be going over. So if we were in the class, we would do this survey, positive or negative stress, depending on how you're viewing something. We don't have our clickers, but is being selected a team leader positive or negative stress? And there's no right answer there. For some of you, that's a positive stress. You're like, oh, great, that's going to make, it's going to be difficult, but I want to be, put up into a position of responsibility. For some of you, it may be a negative stress, like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can handle it. I'm scared, and I don't want to do this. That could be a negative stress. So it's all on how you view things. Is failing a test positive or negative stress? Most of you probably say it's negative. It's you don't want to fail. So it would be it's kind of negative. But for some, it's a positive because it's going to motivate you to say, you know what? I want to do better next time. I'm not going to fail the next test. I've got to do better. So it can be viewed as a positive stress. Moving to a different school, positive or negative. For some of you can see the opportunity for new people, new friends, new experiences. It could be a positive stress. For some of you, it's a negative stress because You're leaving your comfort zone of your friends and what you know is your school. So it just depends on how you view it. Disagreeing with a friend, positive or negative stress. I mean, that's a lot of times when we're having conflict with friends, it's a negative. But you could see as a positive that, hey, we're working things out and we can become even better friends by working through something. Is being involved in many after-school activities, positive or negative stress. So for some, that's what they want. They want to do as much as they can. They enjoy being involved in all these after-school activities, and that is fulfillment. For some, I've heard, like, Colonel, I got no time. I'm doing so much. I've got, after-school activities. I don't even, barely have time to do anything, and that's stressing them out. It just depends on how you view it. Is being popular positive or negative? For some people, they are so driven, especially at your age. Popularity is you consider it so important that it stresses them out if they feel that they're not being accepted as a very popular person and they're stressed out. Others, they're comfortable with, they're fine. It doesn't bother them, and it's a positive stress. Is being unpopular positive or negative stress? Same thing with the popularity thing. So for some, it would be very negative. For some, it doesn't matter. All right. So think about how you respond to stress. When you're in a stressful situation, there's stages we go through. How do we respond to a stressor? And we're going to talk, the stress, the body's response to change. Like I said, positive stresses and negative stresses. The positive stresses motivate us. It motivates, like I said, a positive stress is, you want to do good on a test. So it's a stress that motivates you to succeed. And, it's exciting, new things to go out and change. It's you can see that as a very positive stress. And it's fulfilling, making you live your full life, going out and doing all these different things. Those are positive stresses. Where the negative stresses, it's upsetting. You're stressed so much over that test. You're physically upset and headaches. It's giving you those health effects. Your mood, you're grumpy and those sort of things. Those are the negative stresses. So you want to be pushing how you respond to change into the positive stress zones. So here's the common causes of stress, from the daily hassles to the life events to the physical stressors. We see that the daily hassles, not enough time, social pressure, conflicts, at school or home, just dealing with, the daily life stresses. They're there. Life events, moving, illnesses within the family or yourself, divorces, relationships, death. Those are life events that cause stress. And then the physical stressors. You could be injured. An injury can cause, stress. Not enough rest, or people that abuse alcohol and drugs. Those are physical stressors. Or we talked about nutrition and eating too much or too little. Those cause physical stressors. And of course, not exercising will cause stress. It is proven that if you exercise, it relieves stress. Another benefit of physical activity. Okay, there's 3 stages to the response to to stress. The first part is alarm, the second is resistance, and the third part is fatigue. And we'll watch a little video here, animation on the alarm stage.
Alarm begins when a small area at the base of the brain, called the hypothalamus, receives danger signals from other parts of the brain. The hypothalamus is sometimes referred to as the master gland, as it controls important bodily functions, such as our temperature and growth during childhood. The hypothalamus releases a hormone that acts on the pituitary gland. The pituitary then secretes a hormone that stimulates the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands produce adrenaline, which is the emergency hormone that prepares the body to respond. Your body is now ready to fight, flight, or freeze.
All right, and that's on the alarm response. Okay, under serious, stressful situations, our body is designed to respond. Our pupils can become dilated, increase in perspiration, increase our heart rate and our blood pressure, faster respiration rate. All that is coming about because of what we talked about, the pituitary glands releasing the hormones, narrowing of the arteries to internal organs, increased blood flow to the muscles and brain. All that happens in the alarm stage. In the resistance stage, that's where, your body now is going to determine if it's going to fight, flight, or freeze. It's adapting to that alarm stage, and your physical abilities may be improved, and your mind may go blank. People just all of a sudden, they don't even know what they're doing. And then after you've gone through all that, you go into a fatigue stage. You can experience physical fatigue, psychological fatigue, mental fatigue. And then the pathological fatigue is the chronic long-term fatigue that could come about. And that you want to avoid, the pathological. All right, you're going to, in It's Learning, I do have the unit textbook up there. You'll read about prolonged stress and your health. It'll be really, it's just a little over a page, on page 271, ending on page 272. But it's a good read talking about what happens to your body over a prolonged stress and how we want to avoid that. Okay, checking out learning here. During the blank phase of stress, your body reacts to the fight, flight, or freeze. And we talked about that. Was that in the alarm, resistance, or fatigue? And you were paying attention, it was in the resistance. Okay, the psychosomatic response to prolonged stress can result in headaches, dilated pupils, mood swings. This comes from your reading. But a psychosomatic response would be headaches. Behavioral effects of prolonged stress include stress-related ulcers, skin disorders, or an increased vulnerability to alcohol, tobacco, and other drug abuse. And answer to that is C. Unfortunately, sometimes people will have an increased vulnerability to the alcohol, tobacco, and drug abuse. All right. So we'll leave off this class right here. We'll continue on tomorrow with this one, thinking about the amount of stress in your life, how we process that. Go and do your readings, and we will continue with this block of instruction tomorrow.